What's up, Game of Thrones fans? We are coming at you today with a theory about two of the most loved and hated characters in our story. This theory poses the question, are Littlefinger and Varys secret partners? This theory does contain spoilers for anyone who hasn't caught up to the latest episodes of Season 7, which at the current time of this video's release would be Episode 2 of Season 7. So that's all the warning you're going to get. Let's jump into it. It is said that in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And for the Highborn Lords, that certainly seems to be true. But every game has its rules, and the rules that have been set for this game haven't been set by the High Lords of Westeros. They have been largely set and dictated by two men who weren't born with great names. And because of this, these two men have outplayed their Highborn counterparts. I am of course speaking of Varys and Littlefinger, who many, including myself at times, have viewed as bitter rivals that utilize similar techniques, and I'm going to argue even similar, if not the exact same goals. And these two Machiavellian operators are currently, and have always been, working behind the scenes, pulling the strings on literally every major development in Westeros. They've toppled kings, launched wars, created heroes, and destroyed them through cunning manipulation and diplomacy. They've become more powerful than any army or dragon, and what I'm about to propose is they have now positioned themselves alongside the very armies and dragons they have both helped to create in one way or another through a series of indirect and direct actions. So now, when we have a King of the North who is focused and determined to face the greater threat of the Long Night, as well as a Dragon Queen with an army capable of conquering Westeros with relative ease, as well as being just the force Jon Snow needs to stop the Night King from turning Westeros into a winter wasteland. It just so happens these two quote-unquote rivals have positioned themselves at the sides of both of these forces that are destined to align and take on all that threatens the realm. So let's take a look at exactly where these two have positioned themselves. Littlefinger is currently sitting in the north with the entire Vale forces that he's provided for Jon, and even helped Jon, if not saved Jon, at the Battle of the Bastards. And Varys, who has provided Dornish and Tyrell forces, is by the side of Dany and her 3 dragons, as well as her unsullied and Dothraki. So let's also take a look at the situation of the place that they have not only it just came from, but had largely been running, King's Landing, which is in dire straits. So is it a coincidence that they both have positioned themselves with the two strongest sides in this late stage of the game? In the capital, in which they spent 90% of their time and efforts, is now the weakest it has ever been? I think not. I think this is a clear case of two men hedging their bets and securing their positions on both of the sides, not only likely to win, but likely to join forces to win. Yes, I'm saying that Littlefinger and Varys are not enemies. They are partners, and they always have been. They have weakened those who they have despised, and empowered those who they know are needed for the real wars to come. And even better, they have made sure the two sides they serve need each other to make this happen. And who better to broker this alliance than the two men that have been running things the whole time? You might ask, what good is being at the side of those who are looking to save the world as they know it and become the heroes of the realm? Well, it's actually quite simple. Heroes tend to die. Look at the great warriors of the time and do a quick count right now on how many still draw breath. The ones who are lucky enough to still be breathing are now to engage in a battle that is likely to take that last breath. And why not let these warrior titans like the White Wolf and the Dragon Queen assure the safety of the realm with assembling forces to engage in a fight to the death with an army of the dead? Surely Varys or Littlefinger won't be wielding any swords, so when the last battle is ended and only a few remain, they're sure to be among those few standing, and they'll be standing just as tall as the heroes who have fallen in the service of the realm, but they'll be alive to reap the benefits. Now, just like any theory, you could find ways to poke holes in this with relative ease, but I do have some quick aspects for you to take note of. The crucial difference, at face value at least, between Varys and Littlefinger is that we never see Varys seek a position or rank for himself. Littlefinger is more vocal about his ambition for power, but both are aware that the current system in place is not one that will allow men like themselves to be taken seriously as a ruler. Of course, Littlefinger, as a minor lord, can wield more power than Varys, but still not the level of power needed to achieve their goals. Because of this, they both have been working to change these social institutions. Now, the ways they choose to do this can appear to be in conflict with each other, with Littlefinger chipping away at the current system to weaken it, and Varys appears to work to build and strengthen the system. But he's not building and strengthening the system that despises him, since Littlefinger is simply doing the demolition of this system that doesn't benefit either of them, and Varys is doing the construction, and the end result will be a political structure that suits both. Littlefinger is also very aware that by chipping away at the current system, not only is he demolishing what was so Varys can build what will be, but it's easier for Littlefinger to rise in rank and title. This benefits both. Yes, Littlefinger doesn't work in the shadows as Varys does, but in multiple situations, this works perfectly for them, as Littlefinger is doing things more abruptly and out in the open, and Varys can operate in the shadows when everybody's eyes are on Littlefinger. So when most see two foes going at each other, I see two allies keeping each other sharp in their game. And as for events such as Raz defecting to Varys and betraying Littlefinger, I wouldn't be so sure that was as much of a betrayal as most thought. Raz was just simply going from the equivalent of one side of an intelligence agency to another, just like changing cubicles. If there is only 2 spy games in town, it would make sense to join forces secretly. And that way, when you get a situation like a double agent with Ross, you just have someone in your employ who thinks they pulled one over on you, but they've really just sealed their own fate and shown their true colors. And I don't remember it ending so well for Ross. There are hints to this as well, some of them quite heavy-handed. When we're first introduced to the two characters, we are seeing them working together. Littlefinger is aware of Catelyn's arrival at King's Landing, thanks to Varys.
Truly sorry about the locale.
How did you know I was coming to King's Landing?
A dear friend told me.
Lady Stark,
Lord Varys.
to see you again after so many years is a blessing. Your poor hands.
How did you know I was coming?
Knowledge is my trade, my lady. Did you bring the dagger with you by any chance?
You could do a detailed analysis of every major move these players have made and how they benefit each other, as well as the realm in the long run. But I've learned those long, in-depth videos don't fare so well these days, so I will leave you with just a few things to think about. I think a lot of our favorite scenes, especially between Littlefinger and Varys, if not favorite scenes in general, take place during the first and second season, when we see these two quote-unquote foes engaging in these highly entertaining and well-done scenes where Varys and Littlefinger are one-upping each other and engaging in what I would refer to as a verbal sparring match. But this isn't proof that they're not aligned. Number one, those who fight their battles with their minds must keep their skills sharp. Just as any swordsman would spar to keep his skills sharp, they're simply doing the same. But instead of wielding swords, they exchange verbal blows. And before we end this video, I want to just rattle off a few more situations, and I'm going to leave a link to a list of almost all of them, because there are so many of these events that are either carried out by Littlefinger or Varys that seem to be at odds with the other's agenda, but no matter what, they end up benefiting the other. Number one is Littlefinger's chain of actions that led to the War of the Five Kings, which in turn forces Varys to abandon the slow burn plan with Viserys and speeds up the process. This almost certainly increases the chances of Viserys meeting his demise, and Dany, who Varys just weeks before was willing to kill, is saved and now a major asset to Varys. Littlefinger's alignment of the Lannisters and Tyrells to defeat Stannis at Blackwater. Remember, Stannis was Varys' greatest fear due to being a religious fanatic of the fire god. Littlefinger's moves here also led to the marriage of Tommen and Margaery, which leads to the eventual fallout of the Lannisters and Tyrells. It allows the Tyrells to flock to Varys and Dany's side. Very beneficial. Littlefinger frames Tyrion for the murder of Joffrey, which leads not only to Tyrion's eventual alliance with Dany and Varys, but by the trial of combat opens up the Dornish as allies for Varys to also bring the Dany's side. These go on and on and on. Not a lot of things in the world of Ice and Fire are a coincidence. And if you go by the book for this theory, there is pages and pages and pages of connections, and literally everything Varys or Littlefinger does directly benefits the other. It doesn't matter. It's just a theory. Remember that. I think it's an interesting take on the story, and I think it would be a cool twist if it turned out that they were always on the same side and this had all been so calculated. It would definitely make moves on both sides actually seem a lot smarter and planned out. So remember, I'm just throwing this out there. It could happen. It could not. I think that the biggest obstacle for this one to turn out being correct is that I am a little bit torn, because I do believe that, unfortunately, in the show, Littlefinger will die this season. But if he doesn't, I think that it would make for a far better story and a far better twist. I do favor the opinion that Westeros should become a republic. It would be the next natural move for them, and this would be great for Littlefinger and Varys, who both are putting middle class, or you'd call them small folk, in the positions of power already, and they're doing good jobs. A republic would be far more suitable for that type of mindset, and maybe even he could put Sansa in a position of power. But it would allow men like Littlefinger and Varys to have actual power, and it would allow people that are actually efficient rule things. It wouldn't be decided by just a bloodline. But that's it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon.